What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Ultra Football YouTube channel. My name is Noah Kavanaugh, and today I have an awesome video for you guys today. This is the Mizuno Alpha II made in Japan. We're gonna talk all about tech here in the studio, jump out on pitch, talk about some performance features as well. Let's jump into it. Okay, so starting off with the unboxing, you get a very standard made in Japan Mizuno box with the made in Japan insignia here in gold, an all matte black box. I went with my normal US 9, which is an actual pretty interesting thing here. So in previous generation Alpha, I actually went half a size down to get the best possible fit. I don't know if it was an upper thing or whether it was the way the last was constructed. These are constructed on the same last, so we'll see if the sizing is any different as well. So as we get the boots unboxed, you get a really nice little string bag here, made in Japan. And then here we go. Wow, yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Mizuno Alpha II ready to go. You guys will see tons of up close and personal shots of these as well, but the boots come in very lightweight as well, very similar to the previous generation. Let's jump into a few of the updated tech features, because in typical Mizuno fashion, they went very minor detail to make a pretty big splash in the way that these fit and feel on feet. Okay, let's start with the upper material. Now, the upper is gonna feel pretty much the same as the previous generation in hand, maybe feels a little bit more structured, if I dare say so. It's definitely as soft to the touch, definitely gonna have a similar amount of grip on the ball. So if you really liked Alpha 1, I'm sure you're gonna love the upper of the Alpha 2 with some of the changes that they made. Now, going from the top all the way down to the bottom material, let's start with the most outer material, which is a updated PU sheet. So that's that material that you see that kind of shines on the top. It's basically a coating that goes over the weave material underneath it. The second layer is your new engineered fit woven upper, and that is very, very similar to the previous generation as well, giving you this really nice kind of wrap sensation that sort of is it's like knit and synthetic put together. That's kind of how I describe it on feet. So very, very comfortable. Now, underneath that, the middle layer of the 5 layers is what's actually changed. So in the Alpha 1, we actually got here in these little dimples, you got the engineered fit frame. And the fit frame was basically like an internal cage that kept your foot really locked in. Now with this new generation, they went with the new PU sheet, which actually sits underneath that engineered fit woven material. So now you have a little bit more flexibility, a little bit better from a break-in time, and they found with this ankle area that you had a little bit of an easier time getting that nice wrap sensation around the ankle, as opposed to some of the bubbling that you might have had on the previous Alpha 1. I did as well, and especially for those wider foot shapes, this new middle material with the PU sheet is gonna be awesome. Then underneath that, even closer to your foot, is the engineered fit sponge. So that's that little bit of extra padding you feel kind of across the upper. It's going to give you this really nice pingy sensation while also giving you that barefoot feel on the ball. And then of course on the inside is a suede liner that basically goes from here all the way forward. Now moving to debatably my favorite tech on the market today, which is particularly applied here in the Alpha, and that is the Zero Glide tech along the inside of the removable sock liner, as well as in the rear quarter of the boot. So as you can see here on the removable sock liner, you've got a Zero Glide right here. It's a very nice and grippy textured material on the opposite side of where your foot comes down, and then you have the Zero Glide material basically from where the suede stops all the way up through the heel area, creating one of the most incredible locked-in sensations when you are cutting and making changes of direction really rapidly. It's one of those features that goes kind of unnoticed as far as the marketing, but Zero Glide is easily one of the heroes of the show, in my opinion, for the Alpha II. Now moving inside the boot to the Carvo Insert and shank, if you will. Now, the Carvo Insert is basically a carbon composite material that adds really nice stiffness from about here all the way forward. And you can actually see it, and it's stitched onto the midsole and the outsole. It is a very, very nice material, and they used it in the previous generation Made in Japan model as well. It's only available on the top end Made in Japan model, but it is definitely worth that extra bump in cost. It is super snappy and adds to the sensation of playing in a boot that's already debatably the most responsive boot on the market, and then you add that extra little bit of snappiness through the midsole, and you've got a unbelievably responsive sole plate and snap action as you're running forward and in multiple directions. And finally, the tongue area. So the tongue area has been updated just a little bit, and it's actually a lot more complex than I think most people would imagine. It is a 4-layer upper. So here through the tongue area, obviously, you get at the top the PU sheet, which is very, very similar, if not identical, to the outside of the upper material. Then you have the engineered fit frame here as well, so you get this really nice kind of rigid sensation when the tongue sits on the top of your foot. You have Zero Glide Alpha mesh underneath that, which basically sits right on top of your foot. So yes, they do have a nice little lace loop through the tongue area, but the Zero Glide is going to basically keep that tongue from sliding back and forth, which is a huge feature. And then right along the outside here, basically across the entirety of the upper, you have another PU sheet to keep everything together. So from a tech perspective, the Mizuno Alpha made in Japan Alpha II is a very, very high-tech football boot. Kind of a lot more than most other things on the market, and that comes from several years of development and making just those minor tweaks and changes to a boot that already was debatably the best speed boot on the market. Now they bring another unbelievable heavy hitter to the market here in Australia and worldwide, and I'm so excited for you guys to get your hands on a pair. Let's jump into the pitch really quick, and we'll talk a little bit about how these actually perform, fit, and feel on feet, as well as some sizing recommendations. Now, speaking of performance, these are an absolute joy to play in. There's a few things that I've noticed while kicking about the last 30 minutes or so with these brand new Alpha 2s that I want to talk about in this on-field portion of the video. You'll see lots of B-roll of me going through and training in these, because they actually fit a little bit better than the previous generation from a size perspective, and they fixed a little bit of that issue that we had around the ankle in the previous gen as well. Let's jump into it. So with this brand new 5-layer upper, which shares a lot of similarities with the previous generation, you get a slightly more constructed feeling upper. I won't go as far as to say that it's more stiff feeling out of the box, because it feels about the same, but that 3rd layer that they've changed around really makes a big difference as far as the way the boots wrap around your foot. As a wider footed player, these actually fit me a lot better straight out of the box than the previous generation, and the sizing is a little bit more true to size, if you will, compared to the last gen as well. Some of the enhanced Zero Glide and updated Carvo Insert in the forefoot area also make a really big difference, particularly in some of the cutting movements and the ladder type drills that I was doing earlier today. So basically what that does is the Zero Glide that basically coats the entirety of the rear quarter, so everything from the top of this lacing system area backwards, plus the entirety of that removable sock liner, and then you have that Carvo in the forefoot that makes for a very, very snappy playing experience. Both of those things really do a nice job with this new generation Alpha 2 of making the playing experience one of, if not the most aggressive and locked in sensations on the market. And in typical Mizuno fashion, what ain't broke, don't fix it. That's the same with the sole plate, which stays pretty much the same other than obviously some colorway differences with this beautiful, crazy launch colorway that they have for the Alpha 2. The sole plate feels really nice both on AG and on FG surfaces. This will eventually, I imagine, come out in an AG model as well. However, this FG one I find to be perfectly suitable for pretty much any surface type, save for maybe the carpet type of turf material. But for FG surfaces here in Australia, or for the AG pitches you get up at La Trobe University here in Melbourne, things like that, you're going to be totally fine with this FG sole plate. And typical for the Alpha, this new generation is no different as far as the shooting sensation. You do have a little bit of a waxy sensation on the ball, so it isn't maybe as grippy as some of the counterparts in the speed boot category, but it does have a very, very nice little bit of extra waxiness, so that when you're working in rainy conditions or in snowy conditions, those types of situations on pitch are going to be totally fine for you with the new Alpha 2. It's going to be probably water resistant as well, which is really nice. the first generation was as well, but this new coating and 5-layer upper is gonna feel so nice in every condition you wanna play in. Really what makes the Mizuno Alpha II special is a couple different things. So the grip that I mentioned before with the zero glide texturing on the inside, you have the very responsive half Carvo plate on the inside underneath the removable sock liner, and then you have this 5-layer upper that molds better than the first generation does and does such a nice job of feeling barefoot but also incredibly secure. So you're really getting all of the features in a speed boot that you really want for maximum levels of performance during the course of a football match. All right, fam, so now that you guys have seen the Mizuno Alpha out on pitch, you guys have seen it in studio, I'm curious to know down in the comment section below, what are your thoughts on the brand new Mizuno Alpha II made in Japan? In my opinion, this is the upgraded that the Alpha needed. It is really sensational on feet. It fits me actually a little bit better personally, so I'm really happy about that. And then in general, I think this is gonna fit the majority of foot shapes, and it's gonna give you one of, if not the best, most locked in hardcore speed boot experiences that also provides really great comfort as well. So hope you guys enjoyed that video of the Mizuno Alpha II made in Japan review. My name is Noah Kavanaugh. Make sure you guys check us out on social media. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. Go follow us at Ultra Football on Instagram. I will see you guys next time at the world's greatest football store.